In this video, I'm going to introduce your project called Synesthetic Landscape. It's an audio-visual moving composite that you're going to use Photoshop Video Timeline to create. Let's get started first with an overview so that you understand, what the goals are for this. So you're going to envision and create a composite of 2 to 3 minute video interpretation of a landscape. It can be a landscape that is abstract, emotional, physical, or some kind of other landscape. So it doesn't have to be just a traditional, landscape that's pastoral or something, or cityscape. Anyway, this is going to be inspired and evoked by musical instrumental clips. The music clips are going to be provided by me, the instructor, and you're only going to be able to make a selection from those clips. And it's going to be down in the acceptable music clips on this page, and I'll explain that. And it's going to focus on the layering of sound, video, and still imagery. All right, so let's look at how you're going to get your resources for this project. So the first thing let's talk about is the music clips. I really don't want you deviating from the list that I'm providing. There are some reasons about why. I'll get to that in a second. But you're restricted to using the ones that are in this link right here on our project website page. The other place that this is available is through Blackboard. If you look in the weekly schedule, you're going to see there's a link that goes straight to it in Blackboard, actually. If you use this one on our website, class website, you're going to have a password, which is going to be available in Blackboard. So I'm not going to go to this right now. I'll go over that later. But if you go to this link, it'll have a streaming list so that you can listen to it. Now, the thing about the streaming list is that that's just for listening. When you're ready to actually download after you've chosen the ones that you kind of like, you need to go to our server, our class server, and you need to log in, and you can download them that way. The other option would be if you go into Blackboard, there are links that are directly linking out of Blackboard straight to the songs that will allow you to download them, and there are instructions there. So, but because this is world visible and it's copyrighted material, it's okay for us to use it. Since we are using it for transformative stuff for educational purposes, it's okay, but I can't make these available, neither can you, to the general public. Okay, so, and that's why, it's all password protected and stuff. Anyway, why can't I use my own music? I'm sure that there's some people who are going to be a little frustrated by this, but I have really good reasons for restricting you in this way. I want to encourage creative and critical thought based on potentially non-familiar resources. That's pretty important. Things that you're familiar with, you're immediately going to have certain associations with them. And I want you to try to hear something that hopefully there are some things on that list that you haven't heard before. Maybe you've heard all of them, I don't know. But that way you're going to be sort of pushed to think differently about something that you're hearing new for the first time. Now, something else too about it is that this is going to happen whenever, if you haven't already done freelance work or worked for firms or whatever, you're going to be given creative content that you have to use and be creative about, in your ideation with it. And you're not going to really have choices sometimes about the content that you get to use. So again, this is sort of putting you in a box so that you can think outside that box and how to use your resources as best as possible to do something really interesting and not so literal. And then that gets us to the next issue. Why can't I use music with words? Again, I'm pushing you guys to kind of think a little bit more conceptually and less literally. And, there's some mechanical pitfalls, I think, that come with using music that has words. It's really easy to just sort of almost use the words as instructions for how to create your visual imagery. And so I want you to think outside of that and try to visually communicate what the sound either makes you feel, or you can also use it in an ironic way. You could do something that is sort of the opposite of the way the music makes you feel to make an ironic statement. So you have some different choices there. Now, video clip resources. The thing that's going to be different about this assignment from, say, the previous one where we just did like a little intro to video animation is that the last assignment, you literally had no moving image clips. You didn't have any video clips. You were just using the layers that you had created to animate them, these still flat layers. And so this is different in that you can use some still imagery in layers, but you must use some video clip resources. And for the clip resources, you have to use at least 2 different video clips. You can use many more if you wish, but you have to use at least 2. And you're going to be getting those clips from any variety of resources that you wish. So where do I get those? Here's some different options that you have. Of course, you can always shoot your own original video. If you have a digital device that can easily share video via, probably not email. Most things aren't going to share email out of, like, say, a phone very easily. It's probably going to reduce the quality a lot. So this actually may not be that viable. But if you have something that can share to cloud storage, like iCloud or Google Drive or one of those, or Dropbox or something, then that's great. Or if you can download it via a syncing cable, if that's the way that you sync your stuff up. This is totally optional. This is not required. I know that not everybody has this kind of device, but I don't want to limit you and say that you can only use other people's resources. If you want to go out and shoot your own video, awesome, more power to you. The one thing that you need to be aware of is that if you shoot video on your phone or something that is smaller than the required dimensions, which is 720p, and that translates out to be 1280 pixels wide by 720 pixels tall, which is the lowest dimension that you can have for high definition video. If you shoot something smaller than that, then you need to know that you can't just scale it up without losing a lot of quality. And what that means is that you would have to use the video that you shoot on a phone if it ends up being too small. You would have to use it as part of a composite collage of other video stuff. So we'll get to that in a minute, but just be aware of some of those important delineations about size and stuff, so that you're not relying on something from the get-go that's maybe not even going to be adequate. A lot of smartphones, especially some of the newest ones, take really good video, actually, especially like iPhone 6 and Android, the newest Android phones. And the other thing too that's kind of cool is that a lot of these phones actually come with, or they don't come with necessarily, but you can get free apps that will allow you to do some kind of filters straight away. You can do hyperlays, like, so you can do time-lapse video where you do something that is, gonna drop frames so that it looks like it's going super fast. You can also slow stuff down. So anyway, you can shoot original video if you have a way of getting it into your computer. You also have options to use copyright-free video. Public domain video is copyright-free, and I have links here so that you can read more about these things, but public domain basically is where the copyright is either lapsed or it's unknown, or there never was one that is ascertainable. So then there are, and that's completely free to use no matter what. You don't even necessarily have to give credit. Maybe you can't even figure out where to give credit. Creative Commons video is where the author is telling you, yes, you can reuse this, and you should always just double check with Creative Commons licensing. Sometimes they'll say you can reuse it, but only under certain conditions. But for the most part, most places that provide Creative Commons licenses, they will tell you that it's fine to reuse and remix or whatever. So. And a lot of that can be found on YouTube. There's a website called Internet Archive, which is wonderful. It has both public domain and some Creative Commons stuff. I think Internet Archive actually mostly has public domain. And what's really cool is you can also find like old TV commercials, you know, from like the 50s and 60s and, you know, documentary kinds of things. Don't be confused. Copyright free is not the same as royalty free. Sometimes royalty free things are going to be copyright free, but it doesn't necessarily go the other way around. A lot of times with royalty free stuff, you still have to pay an initial fee just to purchase it, but that means royalty free means that you don't have to continue to pay every single time you use it. So just be careful about what you download. If it's royalty free media, it doesn't necessarily mean it's really free. Okay, and I talked about this now. If you want to be able to search on YouTube for specifically only things that have Creative Commons license, you can do a search where you put in the search term in the YouTube search bar, and then you put a comma after that, and then all is one word, you type Creative Commons. And here's an example in this screenshot. So not in the main URL up here, that's not where you would want to type it. You would want to go to youtube.com, and then in the YouTube search bar, you would want to, like in this instance, if I was looking for something that's called, you know, about train rides, I would put train ride, comma, Creative Commons as one word. And the other way that you can, you know, use stuff is you can always, if you find something that's not Creative Commons or public domain, you can always request permission to use people's work. A lot of times, if you just, you know, get the email from somebody, maybe by looking at their Google Plus account from YouTube, or if it's on Vimeo or something like that, you can just contact the person and just ask them if you can use it for educational use. And a lot of times they're, you know, pretty pleased that somebody's wanting to use it. So, and there's some videos that I was able to get permission to use from somebody in that way, and so he said it was fine for you guys to use it, and that stuff is on the server right now. You can use copyrighted material, but just be warned that it is for educational use only. And using copyrighted stuff as part of your assignment will prohibit you from using it for commercial uses, so you can't ever use it to sell anything. Be aware that most of the selected music that I've provided, most of that does have copyrights and that they're active. So this assignment will likely not be commercially viable at any time. There are a few things on there that don't have active copyrights, but most of them do. So for educational fair use reasons, it's okay to use it because we are going to be using it in a transformative way. So. And then lastly, you know, as I said before, feel free to use any of the samples that I've put up on the server for whatever reasons, just, you know, because. Just be aware that what's on the server in this link right here, these things are not streaming, and I didn't put any copyrighted material up there, so that's why I can provide this link right here. So if you were to go to this, it takes you straight there, and then you could look inside of here, and, you know, and if you click on it, it's not going to actually stream it. So like small files like this one will load pretty quickly, and you'll be able to look at it really easily. And then if you wanted to download it, you could right click and you could say save video as. You could do that directly from here. Now if it's a longer video, however, let's do that again. Let's say that we go to something that's a much bigger one like this one. You can see the file size is quite significantly larger, and we click on that. It's going to take a little bit longer to load. It's actually loading a lot faster because I'm on a really fast connection, but if you're at home on a slower connection, this might not load very quickly. And so just be aware that this isn't streaming, it's just going to show it to you as a regular file, and it will only show as much as it can buffer. Okay, so and then what you can do if you want to just download stuff without having to go to it in a web browser right here, is you can go to our server, log in, and it's located at this address through FTP. In fact, if you wanted to see what I'm talking about, you know, if you were to go into, this is our class folder, so if you go in there, it's right here. So it's not in the student work folder, it's in video resources. By that same token, the thing that you can't see on the web is this P2 music clips folder. So you can go there and you can look at the stuff that's there. and download it through FTP or SFTP.